The first set of CNG vehicles are set to be inaugurated before the first anniversary of President Bola Tinubu in office. And I'm joined now by the program director of the Presidential Compressed Natural Gas Initiative, Micheal Oluwagbemi. Thank you for joining us on the program.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Okay, just start off with, first of all, I'll just start by saying congratulations, on the proposed launch of, the first set of CNG vehicles. But I'd like for you to take us through the timeline and the milestones that have led to this point. Just give us a picture of what has gone behind the scenes leading to this event.
Absolutely. Thanks once again, and good morning to your viewers. The President on October 1st, 2023 announced the Presidential CNG initiative being formally empaneled subsequent to his initial announcement on July 31st that Nigeria was going to make a shift to CNG in the energy transition for the transportation sector, given the relative lower costs, greater accessibility, of course the cleanliness and also the reliability, and of course the safety of CNG over PMS and diesel that had been consuming a lot of federal revenue, putting a lot of pressure on our foreign reserves, and also, of course, causing all the pollution in our environment. So on October 1st, he had announced the Presidential CNG initiative, of which I'm privileged to be the chief executive. And immediately we went to work. The first thing we looked at, we know that this is the fifth attempt by Nigeria to transition to CNG. There had been previous attempts in 1988, so on the back of the structural adjustment program by the then administration led by Ibrahim Babangida. There was subsequent attempt in 2007 and also an attempt in 2017. There was a COVID-19 under ESC program that was on the back of the decade of gas that was designed to also transition, and there was a promise then to convert 100,000 vehicles for free, but that never saw the light of the day. So what we first did was to try to understand the reasons why those programs did not work. And what was happening to us was first and foremost was that government cannot drive energy transition in the transportation sector. It has to be private sector driven and incentivized and catalyzed by the federal government and state government and local government, helping business to do business. After all, it was not the federal government that built gas filling station for PMS and diesel. It was not the federal government that built. Even the new refineries now are being built by the private sector, not by the federal government. And the attempt at federal government to even get involved in that refining business, we knew how it ended up in disaster. So what we said was that we're going to design a program that was going to be primarily driven by the private sector. We're going to design a series of incentives and make sure there is a clarity of regulations. So first thing we did was to move to work with the regulatory agencies, the Nigerian Automotive Design and Development Council, and also the Standards Organization of Nigeria, knowing fully well that we needed to do what we call the demand signaling. So instead of you subsidizing supply, what you needed to do was to signal to the market that you were moving Nigerian fleet, which is about 12.5 million vehicles, of which about 5.75 million is commercial, 400,000 buses among that we're going to move them to natural gas. And that requires what we call vehicle conversion. But there needs to be a vehicle conversion industry. You need 1,000 conversion centers, 25,000 trained technicians and all of that stuff. The private sector is the one that will do that. It's not the government. But the private sector will not move in if there's no clarity of regulation. So we moved in with Standard Organization of Nigeria and NADDCC, and just this March, 80 regulations were released for the sector. That gives clarity of regulations. Now, if you want to set up a conversion workshop to enable the conversion of this massive fleet of vehicles that Nigeria has to natural gas, you know what to do, you know who to go to, you know the permits you need to get and all of that stuff. Then we also added incentives, financial incentives for the sector. In December, the President signed off on a WHT and IDEC, as well as VAT waiver for the sector. That ensures that if you're bringing vehicles into Nigeria that are CNG or machinery parts that are going to help drive CNG manufacturing, as well as vehicle conversion and all of this stuff, you're getting almost a 70% discount. So now if you're bringing a Toyota that is on PMS, you're going to pay 70% waiver, 70% duty. But if you're doing the same thing for a CNG vehicle that is Toyota or is hybrid, you don't pay that 70% duty. So one will be worth 100 million, the other one, say the Toyota Land Cruiser that is CNG hybrid, for example, we come into the country, landing cost at about 100 million naira. The same thing that is coming in with PMS will come in at 170 million naira. So automatically you are shifting the country using fiscal policy and the discounts you're giving on the duty waiver as well as the VAT waiver, you're ensuring that the sector is better sustained. And that's the policy that was in place since December of 2023. So these are things that we've done upfront. And what we also did was that we identified immediately private sector partners that can help develop the infrastructure. Because like I said, you need about 1,000 conversion workshops. You need more than 3,000 refueling stations. All of these will be built by the private sector. You need about 37 mini LNG stations in all the state capitals. You need virtual pipelines driven by more than 500 trucks. You need pipelines that are chain of major transmission systems like ELPS and AKK and all the rest of them that is being planned or built already, that will be doing mother stations and then the daughter stations downstream. We know private sector need to put in serious money in this. We estimate about $2.5 billion investment if we want to meet our goals of 1 million vehicles converted by 2027. But that $2.5 billion, the federal government possibly cannot put in more than $500 million. The remaining $2 billion will come from the private sector. So in December, we hosted an investor summit. And that investor summit, since then, we've been able to aggregate more than $50 million of direct investment in the CNG sector. This is more than all the investment that has gone into this sector in the last 10 years. And as a result of that, Bovas is opening more than 14 stations across Nigeria, 8 in Ibadan. We opened 2 of them last 2 weeks. They are doing 4 in Ilorin, they are doing in Kwara State, they are doing 2 in Ekiti State, they are doing 2 in the FCT. NIPCO is opening 32 stations across the country. We are opening 10 of them in May, 4 of them which is in Lagos, another 4 of them in Abuja. MRS is opening more than 10 refueling stations, more stations going up by MBH, by Axela. I can go on and on. We've gone from a country that had just 11 model stations when we started this program to more than 40 of them now in construction or being planned to be opened in the next 1 month. More than 120 model daughter stations applications currently with NMPDRA that we hope to fast track and get to approval before the end of May. And then we've gone from a country of just less than 7 conversion centers. We have 85 accredited conversion centers as I speak to you now, and we hope to get that to more than 100 by the end of May. So again, we've made rapid progress, but now is the time for us to launch forward. We're going to be having on this program not just people always talk about you have buses and buses. It's not just about buses. How many buses can the federal government potentially purchase and finance? The president promised 3,000 at maximum, which of course maybe we start with 500. But the reality is about mass conversion. How do you convert en masse the existing fleet of commercial vehicles to run on natural gas? And we're bringing in more than 20,000 conversion kits to jumpstart the sector. The private sector is doing its part. All of them that are these 85 conversion centers, they are also sourcing their kits. They're bringing them. We're registering them. We're setting up the Nigerian gas vehicle monitoring system to ensure that when kits come into Nigeria, they are registered, and we can make sure that cars that are converted are done safely and reliably, and we can track them and we can enforce the inspection and all of that stuff. So a lot of work been going on.
The more you said, it's very clear that a lot of work has been put into this. And good to hear, how much of private sector collaboration that you are having in with regards to that. But I would like to hear from you, talking about the affordability and the adoption so far, because there are concerns, especially in the area of, people being able to afford it, the wide range of consumers, and, in not just urban now, but rural areas. How much work has been done towards, creating awareness regarding that? Like I said, not just in the urban, but also in rural areas.
Yeah, well, energy transition does not take place over time. So you must, it's baby steps. When we started with regulation, and then now we are targeting affordability. As time goes on, then you now try to extend what exists into areas that do not have it. Currently today in Nigeria, maybe you have 21, 23 hot states that can access natural gas and get CNG because, of course, the limitation of gas in terms of distribution and distribution and transmission across Nigeria. But that will then improve towards the end of next year when we have the AKK pipeline come on board, and probably about 34 of the 36 states can get natural gas. But even in the states where you have natural gas, it will take time before it goes from the urban area to the rural area. That's the reason why you need a private sector, because it's not government that build the refueling stations in our rural areas today. I remember when I was very young, I would be traveling across Nigeria with my dad. When you get to the rural area, you can't find a petrol station. And then it changed. I think it changed sometimes in the early 90s when the sector was liberalized and a lot of filling stations sprung across Nigeria, right? I mean, it used to be when we were young that you could only fuel in National Oil, AP, and very few brands that were then quasi-government owned, viz. NNPC back in the day. But now the sector is liberalized and you have refueling stations all over Nigeria, rural or urban. What we are doing is to work with the regulator to ensure that we encourage existing refueling stations that are refueling with PMS and kerosene and all of them to add gas capacity. So we are working with the major Energy Marketers Association of Nigeria, for example. We met with them about a month ago in Lagos, and they have committed to saying, okay, like going forward, when we are building our filling stations, we're going to make sure that we put in CNG capacity in them. That's very important. In terms of the affordability of the gas itself, the federal government is worked with the NMPDRA. We aligned with them last week, and there was a concessionary pricing that was given to gas, CNG gas, that is now $1.57, translated to Naira actually, not in dollars, at the inlet that ensures that the price for the consumer ultimately is at a sustainable level. But even before that, maybe beyond that, is on the conversion of the vehicles. We are also developing a conversion incentive program to ensure that whenever you are going to convert, you are not paying 100% out of your pocket. You're only paying a fraction of that. And then the balance of it, you can spread it over time. And then you can acquire the vehicle for a mass transit operator, if you're government institutions and all of that stuff. So the conversion incentive program is critical to the affordability of conversion. By itself, conversion pays itself back. It costs today maybe 300,000 to 600,000 naira per conversion, depending on what the kind of car you use. And then you're saving about anything from 20 to 30,000 naira a week. Typically takes about 10 to 20 weeks to recover that investment. So it means in 5 months you'll have broken even on conversion, and now you are really just in the money when it comes to your fuel cost if you have actually converted. What we're saying is that upfront, you come into your conversion center, we have a program that you can convert, and then you pay very tiny amount out of your pocket, and then the balance spread over time as you buy gas. That allows you to afford conversion. That allows the nations to save money on energy costs. That reduces the pressure on the FX, and that is good for everybody.
Okay, just before we go, because our time is far gone, we'd like to hear from you, your long-term sustainability plans, towards ensuring that, like you rightly stated, that the moves that are being made now are sustained in the long term. So what would those plans be?
The first, I think for this program, sustainability is built into it. The first thing is that government is staying out of the way of business. If we were staying in the way of business, $50 million would not have been stimulated between December and now, right? The money NIPCO is putting into investing into refueling, what is being done by Bovas, what is being done by MBH and all the other participants, Excel and the rest of them, will not come into the sector if they believe that government is going to crowd them out. So we built sustainability into it, the first step of this program, by making sure that it's focused on driving private sector investment. So it doesn't depend on what government is doing. That's the first thing. The second thing, in terms of sustainability that we're doing, is that we are linking existing government funds to help sustain this program. So Nigeria already has the Nigerian Content Fund, for example, under the NCDMB, Nigerian Content Development Monitoring Board. We also have the midstream downstream gas infrastructure fund. Those funds now are being positioned to invest in these private sector players so that they can accelerate both their rollout of infrastructure as well as the recovery of their investment. And then we are also putting into place policies that are going to be there for a long time. For example, this policy of WHT and VAT waiver is going to be here for at least 8 years, as long as the president is president. Inshallah, we are going to make sure that these policies are in place so that the sector can have an opportunity to recover its investment, and as a result, roll out more of the infrastructure. In addition to that, of course, this policy of the guidelines around the pricing with NMPDRA is for 5 years, renewable by another 5 years. That's 10 years. So in 10 years, the Nigerian gas vehicle space will be a lot different from what it is today. And I think that's very critical for the future and the sustainability of the program.
Indeed. We hope and believe that all of these plans, like you rightly stated, are indeed sustainable, and we start to see, more Nigerians adopt, CNG vehicles. I have been speaking with Micheal Oluwagbemi, who is the program director at the Presidential CNG Initiative, and he has been speaking towards the proposed launch of the first batch of CNG vehicles before the first anniversary of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and the long-term, plans that the initiative has in place. Thank you again, Micheal Oluwagbemi.
It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Well, this is where we draw the curtains on today's edition of Business Daily. Join the conversation on social media and let us hear your thoughts on CNG vehicles. Are you one of those people that have started or has adopted, a CNG vehicle for now, or are you working towards that? Let us hear what it is that you are doing. My name is Chiamaka Enendu. Thank you for watching, and bye for now.